Thank you for watching. My name is Glen Morgan. This is We the Governed. Welcome back. My regular viewers know this is an interview that we have today, and I'm so excited to have in the studio with me Brian Heywood. And I shouldn't really say studio because it's really your studio. It's your barn. And Brian, I want to thank you so much for just giving me the time to be able to come down and interview you. And I want to say my regular viewers have seen you a couple times over the years. And I'm going to take credit for, I think, being the first person to interview you.
Very first one, yeah. That's the first time I'm on camera. So.
Yeah, so thank you so much for taking the time again. Of course, the difference right now, I think the last time was last year, just before Freedom Fest, in the barn as well. And we were talking about the 6 initiatives at the time. And now we are, boy, 9 months down the road, and the world has changed.
We've had a baby in that time.
6 initiatives successfully across.
Right.
And anybody watching my channel knows that a lot of the details about some of the drama, but you have been in the news a lot. A lot of people have been interviewing you, Seattle Times, Fox News, a whole bunch of other people, using the quote, the most consequential guy in Washington when it comes to politics. But I know what happens when you do these interviews. There's a lot that gets left on the cutting room floor. What do you think when you go back and look at these interviews that might have been left out, that you would want our viewers to know, maybe some information that tends to get left behind?
Maybe there's a couple of things, right? I think one of them is that often, like the most consequential, I'm sort of almost embarrassed to wear that name. I think in some ways the most consequential politician in Washington State is going to be the 800,000 people that that each signed at least one of the initiatives, because this represented something. This is something. It's a movement that has started. That's well beyond me or what I did. It was people just getting tired of what's going on. And so maybe one of the things would be a recognition. They're trying to make this as if somehow a rich guy bought his way onto the ballot. And I'd like to challenge any of them to say that you go collect signatures, right? Go out and ask people for their signature, their birth date, their name, their address, if they're not signing for something that they believe in.
And you know, we saw evidence of that just last year where I believe it was Nick Hanauer and some other people were funding.
Who's bought up all the top coats, by the way, the top hats. I haven't been able to find one now that we're both in mogul status, right?
Right, but I saw that where they were trying to legalize drugs.
Right.
And they spent $5.2 million and they gave up. They didn't even finish it. That's just on one initiative.
On one, yeah. Because there wasn't enough support and they didn't have enough money, and the second thing might be something that happened. You jump into something like this and you don't always know, oh, this is exactly what my motivation is. You do it because you do things, and that's sort of, I do things. I bought an apple cider press because I wanted to make apple cider, and suddenly I'm making 400 gallons of apple cider a year. And well, why did you do that? Because I had apple trees, and right, and I didn't think about it beforehand, but now I've got this great apple cider. And in that sort of vein, I've had this question again and again: why did you do this? Why are you doing this? And I've had little okay, I can answer you on the spot, and here's a thought, but not all the pieces have been always right there in front of me. As I did it because I had apple trees, that's sort of the way. But I had this interview a week ago, I guess, almost exactly a week ago, and again asked me the same question, and I'm discovering or realizing a lot of this really was because of how I grew up. But something sort of hit me this last time, and I grew up in a family that we were taught you never take a handout, you don't. And I don't begrudge people that need to, and I understand that happens. So this isn't an anti-welfare screed or anything like that. It's more that I was taught you work, and you work hard, and you may get rich or you may not, but you work hard and you earn what you get, and you don't take handouts, especially not from the government. So, and so that sort of that's motivated me my whole life. I've just kind of grown up with that ethos, but then something happened that that really made me think about it, and that was in the middle of all this process. Suddenly, the Jay Inslee budget is suggesting that they're going to give a $200 bribe, and that's the only way to call it, right? It's a $200 bribe to low-income citizens who are impacted by the Climate Commitment Act itself. So they're on the one, out of this left side of their mouth, they're saying, there's no impact. It won't change your fees. It won't make it more expensive to live in Washington. Out of the other side of their mouth, we're like, we totally know you've been impacted, and so we're going to give you a $200 bribe in October. But then that wasn't even the most insulting part. The most insulting part was the brazen part of this budget where they said, and by the way, we'll give you another $200 in February if you vote the way we want you to in November. And as this is rolling over me, I'm just like, so the government's put its thumb down on people's backs, right? If you're driving 100, whatever, if you're driving an hour or two every day back and forth to work, and that's already expensive, and so you're already sort of budgeting. And then on top of that, well, you have a gas tax, which makes this already pretty expensive gas. And then along comes the CCA hidden tax. And you notice that, boom, the price of gas goes up even further, and it probably knocks you in the pocketbook $300 to $500 to $800 a year. That's Christmas. Right? And in fact, it's more than Christmas. I remember we got new jeans and T-shirts and thought that was cool for Christmas.
Right.
If you're in an income level where that's what drives your economics, and it's the government doing it, there's a specific reason. It's so that some snotty do-gooders can not even do any good. They can put a tax on you and feel good about themselves because they're going to give money to people that believe the same religion that they do. Right. They're not doing anything. That sort of ticked me off. And so this is sort of, in a way,
this kickback that they throw in there where it's, we'll take $800 for you, and then we want you to basically thank us for giving $200
Be
back.
happy with it. Yeah. It's that trick that your older brother would do of hey, I'll give you this big fat nickel if you'll give me that little tiny dime, right? I'll make a trade with you.
Right.
And they think people are stupid.
Right.
And I feel, that's something that I realized as I was having these conversations, that it's the arrogance of these sort of, the word like overlord comes to mind, right? It's the arrogance of, and it's the arrogance that people must be that stupid that we can get away with this.
And so far, they feel like they have.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why these initiatives are striking a chord, where we're seeing changing behavior even on their side, where they're trying to scramble because they really don't know what to do about it. Another thing that I think in some of these interviews, I feel like it's gotten lost a little bit, but how many of them have asked you about, hey, listen, you tried the 11 in 2022, right? It failed. What did you learn from that going into the 6? Or have they really, from your perspective, when you really look at it now, and it's different when you look at a failure and a success, what do you feel like you learned between those two?
I talk about that a lot when I go around the state and talk to people, because I think there was a perception that, well, this guy's crazy or a loser, right? In fact, someone had even written an article that just called me an 11-time loser on the initiative. Like,
and dumb money, I remember that
dumb
one.
money.
Yeah.
And I was sort of taken aback by that description. I'm like, well, you don't know anything about what just went on. We learned so much, and I think it's applicable to almost any political movement. It was in a way, it was the political education of Brian Heywood. Mm-hmm. I don't think I understood really how the process worked. I was going through my day-to-day, and I'd just be pissed off when laws were made that impacted me negatively. And as I've gone through this process, I learned a couple of things. The first thing I learned is that I didn't know 400,000 people, right? You're in your own little world, and you know this many people, and they go, oh yeah, this is a great idea. And I think probably most citizens have this little world that they live in, and they go, well, gosh, if everybody would just listen to me, then the world would change. And well, I'm just going to tell it doesn't matter. You tell all your friends. You have to get a bunch of friends to tell their friends, to tell their friends, to tell their friends, and even then you still might not have enough.
It's more work than people realize.
Way, way more. And then around that is getting the right organization and the right people in place. Well, gosh, you may have to go through a couple of iterations before you get the right team in place.
Right.
And so that was a big learning tool for me. There's some other things that I think it's much better to be lucky than to be good. And I'll keep saying that because I keep finding that we've been pretty darn lucky. Mm-hmm. we've been lucky in the timing of everything. Doing this, you know, we launched this knowing that there's pushback on the cap and trade. Again, this is what I'm going to hit again. On the cap and trade, this hidden gas tax. We knew it was there. We knew people were upset, but the upset was building. And then we got lucky because they did things like, well, it hit the Puget Sound energy company, right? Oh, hey,
trying to keep it a secret, trying to hide it. Yep.
We're not going to announce that. We need the increase, but okay, but you can't announce it, right? The Attorney General's office telling them you can't itemize it. Why? Because people are too stupid. I mean, that's the ultimate reason. Right? Oh, you'll confuse them. Oh, you mean you think people are too stupid? Yeah, that's exactly what they mean. Again, and this is resonating with me as we're going through this. And that's government thinks people are stupid. And they're not stupid, they're busy. And I think there's an enormous distinction between that, right? Not stupid, busy, living lives, trying to pay for things. I don't have time to know about all your stupid games that are going on in Olympia. I'm just trying to earn my paycheck and take care of my family. Not stupid, right? And that's part of the message that's coming back is we're not stupid, and quit pretending like we are, offering us a bribe in October, right? So there's this theme that was coming through. People were feeling that. I think that the other thing that I've run into is I don't know that the common wisdom is always common, nor is it always wisdom. And so the way that we went about this was quite different. There was sort of an idea that, you know, you run this a certain way, and if you don't, then you don't know what you're talking about. And if you don't know what you're talking about, young man, you should get out of the way. And well, the common wisdom was that you spend $10 to $20 million per initiative to get one on the ballot. The common wisdom is that you don't ever do more than one together. The common wisdom was you listen to the consultants who knew what they were talking about, and they got in and they helped you figure out how to do this thing. We didn't do any of those things. And turns out that we were able to do this for cheaper than just getting one initiative on the ballot to get all 6. This is a $60, $70 million operation that we're able to do for less than $7, $8 million.
Do you feel like with your business background and just, I know having, since I've talked to you over the years, right, you'd look at manufacturing companies and you would try to find ways of making them more efficient in Japan, right, or doing something like that. How much do you think that experience and background helped you in preparing for this project? It
was huge. I didn't sit down and go, oh, because I'm a business guy, I'm going to do this. It's just the natural things you look for. Where are the inefficiencies? And wait a minute, did we get a bid on this? And no, we didn't get. Let's get 4 bids on this, and maybe that lowers the price. And what can we do to put ourselves in a better position to leverage ourselves so that we can get a better deal on things? And then how do we structure ourselves in a way that's the most efficient? Those are things that just sort of you do in the course of business. And I didn't think of it that way as much as, oh, because I'm a businessman, I know this. But I also didn't realize how things get done sometimes in Olympia. And it's they rightly criticize businessmen that think that they can come in and make sausage with them. But I think there's a good deal of criticism that can go back and say, well, you don't always know how to run something in an efficient way. And so part of my education has been mixing that business piece with understanding how sausage gets made.
And speaking of sausage, I think what we'll do is we'll in our next clip, we're going to talk about some of the sausage that's getting made in Olympia right now.
Beautiful.
When it comes to these initiatives. So stay tuned. We'll do another segment here with Brian Heywood talking about the successful 6 initiatives with Let's Go Washington and the impact that it's going to have on you and everybody else in Washington State.